Welcome to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new r/malicious compliance stories, shall we? The first story is called Incorrect About the Policy. I lecture on health and social care. I also do consultancy and training for healthcare companies. I recently had a manager from one of my larger clients who I had trained personally contact me directly to help him understand a point in his company's policy he was unsure about. I explained the point in the policy and the correct way to implement it in his specific service. He thanked me for my support. I was happy to help. The end. Or so I thought. The following day, I had a new operations manager from the same company. He was the manager's manager contact me. He was saying I was overstepping by advising their staff, and in the future to direct them to the head office to clear up these sorts of queries, as I was incorrect about the interpretation of the policy. Frankly, they were rude, abrupt, and I could not get a word edgeways. And so I decided to let this little fiasco run its course, knowing exactly how it would play out. A couple of hours later, I get an email from one of the directors asking if I could advise one of the operations managers on how a certain policy point should be implemented. Yes, no problem. The thing is, I wrote that policy, which is why the manager came to me in the first place, as they knew that. I took great pleasure in calling the operations manager and telling them in extensive detail the correct way to implement the policy point. And the correct interpretation. I double-checked that they understood everything. And we went through it step by excruciating step. At the end of it all, the operations manager did apologize for the way they had spoken to me and admitted they had been in the wrong, so it's not all bad. That must have been a funny call between the manager and the director. You told the guy he is wrong about the policy? Yes, why? Well, he wrote it. The next story is called Following a Policy to the Letter. I work in an office with cubicles. Each person's cube has a nameplate near the entry, as is standard in most offices. Our facilities department is officially in charge of making sure the plates are correct, ordering new ones when we hire someone new and such. But they are not very fast at getting this stuff done. At times, when there was a reason for someone to relocate from one cube to another, that person would usually swap the nameplates themselves because, well, it's easy. But facilities got mad about this. So it was made an official policy that only facilities could move the nameplates. Fast forward a bit, and we decided to rearrange the cubes a bit in our department. This included moving cube walls. There were enough empty cubes that we wanted to make some open spaces where people could have impromptu meetings and such. The thing is, some of the walls we needed to remove contained nameplates. Some blank, some not. Remembering that we were not allowed to move those nameplates, we attached strings to the ceiling. This way, the nameplates would remain exactly where they were, even though there were no longer any walls for them to be mounted to. The third story is called You Can't Bring That In Here. This is a story from my uncle. Most of my family is Canadian, but my mom moved to the US, where she met my father, so I'm American. My uncle is driving down from Canada to visit us in the States. He's got a 12 or so hour drive ahead of him, so he stops at a deli just before crossing the border. While in there, he decides, might as well stock up since the exchange rate means everything is more expensive in the States. And so he buys the biggest sub they have on the menu, a monstrosity packed full of roast beef and cheese, figuring that he will eat part of it now, but will have a bunch left to eat for dinner while on the road. I don't actually know how big it was, but my uncle insists it was the largest he'd ever seen. He gets to the border and eats part of the sandwich while waiting in line. Finally, the border guard gets to him, checks his documents, asks him the standard questions, all the normal stuff. My uncle has done this a dozen times, so everything is fine. Then the agent points to the giant glorious sandwich. You can't bring that into the country, it's against the law. My uncle literally bought the sandwich 15 minutes before from a store 5 minutes away. The guard probably goes to that store for lunch because it's cheaper for Americans thanks to the exchange rate. It's not contraband, it's roast beef. My uncle makes his case, but is firmly told no. Dispose of the sandwich or you can't cross the border. My uncle is frustrated. He literally just bought this awesome sandwich and now he has to throw it out? And to add insult to injury, he'll have to pay extra for food on the American side of the border? No, he won't stand for this. So, in the line to cross the border, with the customs officer looking on with disgust, my uncle houses the entire sandwich. He may have just eaten lunch, but that's not going to stop him. He paid for that sandwich, and by God, he's going to eat it. And the border patrol agent is going to watch him do it. He finishes the sandwich, and the customs officer finally lets him through. The next story is called Thanks for All the Billable Hours. This happened a number of years ago. There's this website called SSLlabs.com where people can check the security of their website. It checks things like the version of SSL being used, certificate validity, and such. I was working as a site security consultant for a large public firm, and one of the senior people got it into his head that nothing less than an A+ rating for the site would do from the test. Some security details are important, some are trivial, and some are more political than anything else. Before the current version of Secure Traffic was common, many sites were in the old version. But SSL Labs decided at some point that the highest rating our 1.1 version site could get would be a B+. Well, a B+ was not acceptable to Mr. Executive. So I was told, hey, you really need to get IT to get an A+ on that score. Our customers might see the B+ score. Now, it's ridiculous on the face of it that random customers would even know about that test or place any faith in it or whatever. But it is not my job to disagree as a consultant, so I agreed. I talked to the security guys in IT and they said that trying to get the servers to speak to the new version would break the client software running in the field, which was limited to the old version. So I wrote up a long email explaining all the nuances to Mr. Executive. And I charged him for the hours that I spent running the stupid tests, writing the stupid change plan and such. A fair amount of money in billing. He decides that he's going to use his authority through me to get this change made. He tells me that he's counting on me to intermediate this process. I tell him in polite consultant terms that it will be dumb to do that, he can just talk to IT. He tells me that IT never sees the big picture. Just go ahead and bill him for this. So I spent billable time rewriting all his notes and forward them to IT. IT responds back with the same response and a timeline of 18 months to get the software rewritten. I spent time rewriting this into the nonsense that this particular executive can understand and send it off along with a bill. This literally goes on for 6 months. He sends me notes, I rephrase and sends them to IT. IT responds and I rewrite and forward. This was not the main work I was doing for them, but it delighted me because I could count on at least 5 to 10 hours a week of back and forth between this idiot and his own team. No matter how often I mentioned that a couple of meetings could clear all this up, he insisted that I bill him. So I did. The last story is called Changing Contracts. This takes place in the before times, when people could eat out and gather in large numbers. I used to work as a chef for an owner who liked to micromanage things and was a bit narcissistic. I had been working there for about 3 years, getting good reviews, customers loved me, and I updated the menu. I made everything from scratch. Quality had gone up, and morale was great in my kitchen. Annual sales went from 850,000 to 1.4 million, about maximum capacity for the space. The increase in sales and income ran to the owner's head. He was always spending money on frivolous things and squandering cash. Sound system, a stage for the event space, and such. One example, I needed a new L2 sham. A used one would have sufficed, but nope, he bought the top of the line one that could be used as a smoker too. 12k versus what I wanted could be gotten used for $1,500. Granted, I enjoyed that piece of equipment. But after I left, they no longer used the smoker function. Years later, I still occasionally get email invoices from a vendor and see they bring in pre-cooked smoked meats now. I was hourly, but then the owner realized during the busy seasons that I and my sous chef put in 70 to 80 hour weeks. Doing this, he realized I made more take-home pay from his business than he did. At peak times, he had maybe worked 40 to 50 hours a week. So to save money, he puts me and my sous on salary, effectively cutting my pay by about 10k a year. My sous netted a loss of 2k per year if we were to work at our current level of effort. During all of this, the owner is saying he is not expecting us to work over 40 hours a week, ever. He even has this written into our contracts. So with the extra time off at home with my family, it is okay, I still like the job and my staff. During the slower time, this was great. Also during this time, I had won a local award for my cooking, and the narcissistic owner was not too pleased. He was no longer recognized as the creative force in the kitchen that bears his name, so his meddling and micromanaging increased. It had gone from, it's your kitchen, do what you want, to, it's my name and my kitchen, do it this way. Morale and quality began to suffer. Just prior to the holiday season, my Zeus wants to go back to his home country for 2.5 months, November, December and January, peak crazy time for us. I have good help and I'm good with it, and the owner approved the time off. The owner was thinking that I'm going to save him some money that holiday season by working my usual 70 to 80 hours a week. Nope, cue the malicious compliance. I start writing the holiday schedule. The Stu is on vacation, I have my 40 during key prep times and peak business times. The rest of my staff gets serious overtime. Basically, the Stu and I carried a lot of the weight in the kitchen and could outperform most of our small staff. So, with the Stu on vacation and me only pulling 40 hours, full-time staff is now working 60-ish hours a week and part-timers are getting 40 hours. Things are running pretty smoothly, until the owner realizes that I'm not there like I always am during the holiday rush. He's in the kitchen more, trying to micromanage my staff, giving them poor advice, contradicting my directions and timing for events, screwing up the small parties my staff could handle while I am off. After a few weeks of this, he realizes he's going to be paying the staff out more in overtime than he saved on moving me and my Stu to salary. He starts demanding I work more hours to stop hemorrhaging overtime to the kitchen staff. I show him my contract, where I'm not expected to work over 40 hours a week. Now he says it's just a guideline. I hold him to the 40 a week. It's Christmas and now I can for once spend time with my family. Now with my Stu returning, I was burnt out from the constant micromanaging and gaslighting by the owner. I handed the reins to my Stu and changed careers after 25 years in the industry and never looked back. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you have a great holiday time. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.